Welcome to the show Brain Rot, What Our Screens Are Doing to Our Minds. Here are your hosts, Dr. Karyne Messina and Dr. Harry Gill.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Brain Rot, What Our Screens Are Doing to Our Minds. I'm Dr. Karyne Messina. I'm a psychologist, psychoanalyst, and author. I'm joined, as usual, by my wonderful guest, Dr. Harry Gill. He is a well-known psychiatrist, and also he has a PhD in neuroscience, which allows us to combine psychoanalysis and neuroscience, which is, it's a treat for me, for sure, to have him as part of the show. So today we're going to talk about reality testing, the failure of the reality principle. When we lose our grip on what is real, obviously, that's not good news. We really lose the world around us, but that's not all we lose. We also lose ourselves, the inside of a person. And I don't mean their organs, but their minds. We used to live by the reality principle with mental muscle that helps us face the world as it actually is. But now we've traded the truth for the pleasure principle. So, Harry, why don't you talk about the reality principle and what's going on in the mind? What's going on in the brain?
It's an incredibly important topic. And as we evolve as species, the challenges to reality testing are ever increasing. So, first of all, what is reality? To begin with a really complicated question, we can sort of, for purposes of this discussion, define it as our experience of the world. If I touch something, I have a sense that it's really there. If I smell something, there's odor to it. If I hear it, it makes a sound. If I taste it, it has a taste. And all of the senses, sensory systems put together, create a sense of reality. Freud defined the beginnings of body-ego, which is a sense of where our body is and where we are. And if we're real, starts as a baby. When the baby comes out of the womb and touches a sharp object, there is an experience of the other. So the experience of the other creates experience of self. So this is me, this is the rest of the world, and it's the beginning of the evolving sense of reality. In the olden days of a Neanderthal in a cave, we used all of our senses to create reality. Once the language begins to be developed, the reality now has a story, has a narrative to it. And we begin to add to purely sensory experience to reality, the narrative. This is this, and this is that, and this is how these things go together. And we begin to believe. And the sense of belief is the beginning of the fracture in reality. We can believe in God. We can choose not to believe in God. We can choose to believe that something happened, or we can choose to believe something didn't happen. So from the brain perspective, reality is really a construct that is the outcome of our sensory process, primarily, and then a set of new data gets compared to the old data, and there's a sense of acceptance of something as real and not acceptance of something that is deemed not real. But you can hear from the words that I'm using, deemed, a sense, a belief, that we have now ventured into territory where reality is malleable. So we'll talk more about it. And I know you have some thoughts about the assault on our reality by AI these days.
I do. And one thing is a phrase that's popping up more and more. It actually started to emerge in 2024. And in 2025, it was the word of the year. And the word or the phrase is AI slop. And if you think about it, it's like digital junk food. It's like filler that's used in processed food. It adds bulk to the substance, but it has no value at all. And it's in social media, it adds zero to what's being said. It's just filler. I don't know, you might have seen some of those weird pictures with people who have 6 fingers. That's not real. That's just a construct. Some AI's idea of a hand, but it isn't real. There are a lot of hollow articles that are popping up that they don't have a person who is guiding AI. They're just thousands of words put together, and they're just totally, totally meaningless. So I think, whether I like the word or not, I think it's going to be popping up more and more. AI slop, because there's a lot of it.
And that really touches the idea of the sense of reality, how we learn what is real and what isn't. In the narrative of what is real, the brain considers the source as well. And for example, it is a fascinating experience to watch the change to the food pyramid that the new administration has put out. In fact, the old food pyramid has been debunked, and it's just really not good for you. And we talked about Mediterranean diet and more protein and less carbs. And the new food pyramid actually represents science and something that we know is the way to go. But considering the source creates the sort of doubt, like, is this real or is it not real? And it's fascinating to sort of follow how much we have lost with all of the digital sources and AI and various news outlets and various perspectives. We no longer know what is real, what isn't, because that considering the source has become really dramatically weighed in people's experience of reality. So if there's a trusted source, then we can accept something as real. If it's not trusted, then it becomes suspicious. And the problem with AI slop, going back to your topic, is that brain really, in the milliseconds of processing something that we see, doesn't necessarily apply good quality thinking to test reality. We see it, it is encoded in the brain, and it is remembered. So it's a data set that now exists in our brain. And thinking of a developing brain in particular that doesn't have a good large reference data point can actually see an African-American Nazi trooper, which was one of the early AI slop things that we all laughed about. But if you have no experience of what Germans look like and when Second World War took place, it's a data point that is equally real to a person without the backdrop of information as it's unreal to somebody else that has the previous database and can dismiss it as an erroneous data point. So the opportunities to play with our reality, they've always existed. New communist governments have played with people's realities. The propaganda machines are always playing with our sense of what's real and what isn't. Selfie culture, we need to travel somewhere because we need to develop a selfie because it's a thing. So the conversation about what is real, what isn't, becomes also what is important and what isn't. So it's one of my favorite topics to talk about.
Yeah. Well, social media tells us what is important, tells a lot of people what is important. And then obviously they take it in as if it's real. Actually, it isn't. It's a construct.
Mm-hmm. The most dramatic example of this is the transformation of a teenager before social media to today. And, a 14-year-old girl looked a certain way 20 years ago. And today, a 14-year-old girl, and I see a lot of 14-year-old girls, will have a lot of makeup, fake eyelashes, outfit that is ready to go clubbing at night, and
plastic surgery. Yeah.
Not necessarily being critical of the appearance. An appearance can be quite attractive, but it is clearly influenced by an experience of reality that makes it a goal, a purpose, to wake up in the morning and apply makeup for 1 hour and be tired because you have to wake up an hour early to apply makeup for 1 hour. So the consequences to our day-to-day existence of the bending of reality for commercial purposes or political purposes are very, very dramatic. And the more we have retreated into being in our homes, we are now losing a sense of touching, smelling, tasting reality, hearing reality, feeling the temperature of reality. We're fed reality through a screen.
Yeah.
That is only one set of data that we use to test reality.
Yeah, I was thinking of a very simple example, which is looking at oneself in the mirror. What you see isn't you. It's a reflection of you, but it's not you. It's not a three-dimensional you.
Yeah.
It's a flat image. It's not a person. So that's it. In one way, I think social media is a bit like that. It's not real. It's a perception of something that's real, but it's not.
It's interesting you bring that up because in neuroscience, we do experiments with half faces because one hemisphere perceives the opposite half of the world. So the right hemisphere sees the left side of the world and the left hemisphere sees the right side of the world. And it is quite entertaining to actually show people what they look like because our faces are asymmetrical. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror and the picture, the recording, we see our faces reversed.
Yeah.
So when you turn the face around and you show a person how they actually look to others, it's quite startling because we don't really have a sense of what we look like. And same with voices. Your voice sounds totally different to other people than how you hear yourself because of the non-transduction of signals. And when you hear your recorded voice, I hate my recorded voice, by the way, but you get used to it. You get used to it. So again, reality, what is real? It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, I'm thinking about object constancy, a concept from psychoanalytic or psychological theory. And the idea is object is a person. So it's person constancy. To have a healthy mind, you must be able to recognize that other people are real, that they have flaws, they make mistakes, and they disappoint you. But that to me is reality, of connecting with a person. So in the world of brain rot, I think people are no longer objects. Object, the word means people. They're images. It's a flat image, like what you see in a mirror or looking at a picture. So real people have unpredictable ways of being in the world. They have different smells. They have awkward periods of silence. So for the brain that has been rotted, frankly, by a smooth, frictionless surface of a screen, the real world, it starts to feel wrong. And it's just the opposite of what should be happening.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you point that out. I live in Manhattan and I love Manhattan precisely because it is an assault on sensory systems. It smells funny, it's noisy, there are people everywhere. Some of them smell funny, and that experience of total life, reality, I really like. I was born and lived in urban areas my entire life, but it's interesting to see people who live in their houses that are manicured and clean and protected, they're totally overwhelmed with New York and it smells funny and it's too much. So along the lines of dealing with reality has really become a challenge since COVID, when people spend 2 years of not having to deal with reality. For young people in particular, one of the really problematic aspects of life is food delivery. And this is really talking clinically, where young people are unable to prepare their own food and don't know how to prepare food. So it gets delivered. The waves of social anxiety that we've created because people don't have to deal with other people and negotiate a relationship, it all has its own consequences and experience of life that then becomes anxiety and depression and things that are wonderful for our business, but not wonderful for humankind, if you will.
Yeah, I think of reality testing as certainly not being a permanent state. To me, it seems like a muscle. You have to use it to build it up. What happens if you stop exercising? It atrophies.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's, I think, what happens with reality testing, as I just said. So
anybody that's listening probably is listening to us on YouTube, which is the mother of all AI slop, and spending some time looking at news pieces that look perfectly real. But if you really pay close attention, you discover, oh, this is AI. Once I was listening to the sad Ukrainian speech at United Nations about the war, and I was listening to it, and it took me about a minute and a half to figure out this is not real. None of this is real. It's not a real person. It's not a real speech. This is not happening. But it was very compelling. And to some people that may not really kind of focus on, is this real or not, it'll be real. And it'll be encoded as a real story, a real narrative.
well, I think one thing, as we sort of wrap this up, I think putting the phone down is important. You stop looking at the reflection and start feeling the weight of the phone. Just put it down and connect with a friend, a neighbor, even somebody you don't know. It's so important.
Go out to the restaurant and talk to the waiter and say hi to the person at the table next to you. Everybody wants to connect. Human species wants to connect.
Yeah. Even if people are shy or they seem hesitant, you don't know what's going on in their minds. They may wish for you to reach out and they're hesitant to do it themselves. So it's important for people to take the initiative to, as I said, put the phone down and connect with somebody in a real way, a real three-dimensional person.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Life is very complicated and it's gotten more complicated, but I really want to second your notion of living with screens requires hygiene, just like eating cake all day long is not good for you. Staring at a screen all day long is not good for you.
Yeah. Okay, well, until next time, it was great to see you, and put the phone down. That's the message. Connect with a real human being. Okay, bye for now.